Hello, Myers Team Trucking here, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona at our lovely headquarters here. I am excited to announce that I've been with Swift now for a year and thought it'd be fun to do a couple of review videos. Today I decided to tackle the review of their training program. So, a little bit of background information. My wife and I actually drove teen for Werner back in 2008. And then that's a whole nother story in itself, and maybe I'll do a video on that. But we ended up leaving the field, and my wife kept her CDL, but I did not, because at the time I didn't think I was going to get back into trucking again. So my first piece of advice, if for some reason you're thinking about leaving trucking, don't let your CDL go. Just renew your CDL and keep it, because you never know. You know, things change in life. You might find yourself back behind the wheel again. So, the onboarding process itself was really super easy. The online application was very easy to fill out. You have to sign up for and give them permission to check your drug and alcohol record through that clearinghouse, but that wasn't hard to do. And my recruiter was Joshua, I forgot his last name, but he did a fantastic job of walking us through and getting us lined up. So, as far as our Cdl training, I did my training in Memphis, Tennessee, which is another one of their terminals. Expect to spend 3 to 4 weeks there. If you progress well and you're ready for your test, it takes about 3 weeks. If you need a little more time, they do give you more time to get ready to take it. So I did my training in the summer. It was July, and you are required to wear long pants. So that was maybe one of my little complaints there, was that it was hot and muggy. And I did all right. I drank lots of water. I actually brought along an umbrella to help shade me from the sun a little bit. But the very last day I did feel a little bit of heat sickness and actually ended up cutting my day short. That was the day before I took my test. So anyways, they will bus you in, put you up in a hotel. I actually ended up flying in, and they still reimbursed me up to the cost of a bus ticket for that flight. The hotels and everything, I believe you end up paying that back over time, but if you stick with the company for 2 years, any money that you've paid ends up getting paid back. The tuition itself is a little over $6,000. On my contract, they take out $80 per week and then reimbursed $40. So they take out a net $40 from every paycheck every week for the first year. At the end of that year, then they pay off the remaining loan. You end up paying a little over $4,000. Well, 80 times 52 is $4,160. So it ends up being a little over $2,000 that they pay off after the year. I actually need to call human resources or whatever to follow up and see if they do indeed actually do this. I'm pretty sure they do, or there'd be lots of very upset students out there if they weren't following through. The one thing I'm not sure about is, it looks like on weeks, like if we take a week off, it looks like they basically set it up so it looks like they take out 40 and then reimburse 40. So that additional $40, I don't know if that gets tacked on to the end of the 12 months or 52 weeks, or how that's handled. I probably will do a very short video after I get these answers, just to update people that might want to know how that all works. So anyways, any money that you've paid personally yourself at the end of the second year, then they will reimburse you for that, a little over $2,000. Now, this was a year ago, so I know they've made some changes. I don't know if the price of the class is still the same, or if they're offering any other incentives. I will say, for the training itself, it's very much just geared on helping you pass your test. We spend, I want to say it was 12 hours a day practicing our maneuvers in the yard and then also going out on the road. I did my training during basically the worst of the COVID pandemic, so my experience might be different than yours, but at the time there was only 2 people allowed per truck, so basically you and the instructor, and you both had to wear masks. The one thing that unfortunately took away from the program is it used to be that the instructor and 2 or 3 students, so I think there's 4 people per truck because they put seats in the back, would go out and basically spend 10 hours on the road and switching drivers. So it's really unfortunate because of the pandemic they had to stop doing that. However, they do take you out on the road around around Memphis or wherever you're doing your training to get that experience. I didn't do as much on the road as some of the other students did. Like I said, I had previous experience as a truck driver, so there were other students that needed it more than I did, and I'm pretty sure they saw that. So I did notice, I got to go out every day, but I wasn't out as long or as often as some of the other students, and I was fine with that. For the most part, I just needed the time more so just to fine-tune my skills, and it was pretty cool because sometimes they would actually let me drive the truck to show an example to other students of how to do things, so I thought that was kind of cool. So anyways, after you graduate from that program, you take your Cdl test right there, and then you do your road test. I don't know if I'm really allowed to say much about that or not, but it wasn't that bad, and they'll explain everything that you need to do and walk you through the process. And if you're not ready to test, just say, I need another week, and they'll do that. So anyways, after you pass your test, and that's when you're officially hired by Swift, you do all your paperwork, and then they will come and pick you up. Your over-the-road instructor will come and pick you up. I did forget to mention one thing on the onboarding, a couple things. First of all, if you do your DOT physical, it has to be through Concentra. I did mine through another source, and they didn't take it. So it has to be through Concentra. And then it's kind of frustrating because when you get there, they're just going to do it again anyways. So, but I don't know what the redundancy is about. Second of all, if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, don't even bother showing up, because they're going to do hair follicle testing and urine testing, and if it's in your system, they will catch you. And from what I understand, every single class that they do this, there are people that get sent home. So, that's something you really need to take care of and address before you get into the industry, because that will get you into trouble. The other thing you need to watch is your blood pressure. If your blood pressure reads greater than 140/90, they are going to send you home to go see a doctor to get on medication and get that under control. I had one additional issue that almost held me up. I have a condition called restless leg syndrome, and I was on a medication called Requip to help me with that. And unfortunately, one of the side effects of Requip is drowsiness. So I had to go through the extra hoops of having my doctor from home fax in basically a release saying that I'd still be safe to drive if I'm on this medication. I actually found that the medication was never really helpful, so I just recently told the doctor to take me off of it altogether, because I don't want to go through that whole process again every single time I need to do my DOT. So I actually found, if anyone's got RLS, I found actually a supplement that works pretty good. So you can contact me and I can give you some information on that if you're interested. So anyways, after I passed my test, did all my paperwork, I actually went back home because back up. They will have an over-the-road trainer come pick you up at the hotel, but I chose to go back home again. That was on my own dime. Florida had just reopened up from the pandemic as far as their DOT offices go. And what they do, when you leave, you have a paper certificate, and you have so much time before you need to go to the DOT and get your hard copy. So I wanted to go back because I didn't know if the DOT was going to close again. That was an issue that we had before, and that way I can go to the DOT, get that all done with, and not have to worry about extensions and all that. So I went back home, which is Gainesville, Florida for me, and met my trainer at the Ocala terminal. My trainer was Donald Jarvis, and he was a fantastic guy. We had a lot of fun on the road. He's still a good friend of mine. I call him up all the time and bounce things off of him and whatnot. So my experience out there with him was wonderful. What to expect with that is, I believe it's a 200-hour program or more. The first week or so, you're going to be driving with the instructor sitting next to you, watching everything you do. After that first week, and I want to say it's 40 hours, don't quote me 100% on that, but I think it's 40 hours minimum. Then if they feel comfortable, they can let you drive unsupervised, or they can even sleep while you're driving. Once you and your trainer feel comfortable with the idea of going team, then you can basically run the truck like a team and really get through your hours quickly. The trainers do have the ability to say, we're not going to run as a team, or we're going to run like super solo, which is maybe time and a half for the truck. And don't be afraid to tell them that you want that extra supervision. I mean, yes, they're getting extra pay and extra mileage for your production, but your training comes first. And you hear in the industry about drivers that use their students for miles. If you think that's going on, then you need to have a talk with them, and if you don't resolve it, then you need to talk to your manager about possibly being switched to a different truck. So anyways, after that initial amount of time went by, I said, yeah, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and run it like a team. Plus I was planning on running team with my wife anyways. So I got my time done in about 6 weeks. You potentially could do it in about 4 to 5. But we took a little bit of time off here and there. I think we did a couple of 34-hour restarts. So, it just depends on how much time you need. I believe you need, it's either 6 months or a year of experience and a good safety record in order to become a trainer. And you do get paid for both their mileage and your own mileage. So it's a good way to make some extra money if you, think you might have what it takes to be a trainer. So after that was done, Donald administered my test. They used to have it where you go back and have someone else do it, but because of the pandemic, they were having the mentors do the final test. I don't know if that's still how they're doing it, but that's the way it was when I did it. And after that, my wife didn't have to do the Cdl training, but she did have to do the 200 hours over the road because we hadn't driven in the last 3 years. And they were able to line her up with a female instructor to let her get her 200 hours. So after we both finished, got together, they put us in a truck and off we went. So my overall feeling about how the school went, for the most part, it was really good. I will say the first time around, I did my training through a community technical college, and I think we had a little bit better training through the community college than through the carrier program, and that's probably, I imagine, the same across the board with all the mega carriers. Basically the program is there to get you to pass a test, and then the over-the-road mentor part is where they really teach you how to do your backing and things like that. Oh, and that's the other thing too, make sure you get lots of backing experience. It takes a few months to really get good and comfortable with backing out here, but the more you can do over the road, the more it'll help you. One thing you could do is ask your instructor to, hey, can we just take a day at one of the yards and just, a couple hours back into a spot and go around, back into it again, go around, back into it again, whatever you need to do to get that experience. So I'm sorry I ran off track there for a second. But, yes, what I was saying was that back in 2008, 2007, we did our training through a community college, and it just seems like that we got a more thorough training and a little bit more real world training and situations and stuff through there than we did through the carrier. However, I think it's still okay because you do get those 200 hours to iron out the rest of what you need to learn. Not to say that you know everything when you leave. I mean, we've been doing this for a year now, and I'm still learning new things every week. We make mistakes out here and we learn from them, and unfortunately that's kind of how you learn out here on the road. So I guess that's it in a nutshell. I'm not saying don't go through the carrier. It's actually not a bad way to go at all. It's a great way to get your CDL without having to go through a community college and taking out a school loan, through a bank or whatever. And, I feel like that I did learn enough during the training at Memphis to get the basics down on how to maneuver the trucks, because these trucks have changed a lot since 2008. And the handling characteristics are different. So, I still found it valuable for me. And I think you'll find it valuable too. But, that's one of the things to consider, whether or not you want to go with the carrier or go outside the carrier to get your CDL. And, that's up to you. There's pluses and minuses to both. So, that's it for today. Like I said, overall I was pretty happy, other than a couple little things here and there with the training program. But Swift really isn't a bad company. If you're looking to get in the industry and you need to get a CDL, they were one of the best, if not the highest paying company that I found at the time that would hire from Florida, which is another story in itself. Because of the pandemic, some of the companies were not actually hiring from Florida because they were having a spike in cases down in Miami. And I explained to some of these companies, I live like 8 or 9 hours away from Miami. I mean, we're not having the spike like they're having down there. But some of them were like, well, we're not hiring from Florida right now. But I think some of that has passed. That's probably not the case anymore. The only other issue with working for Swift or any other company really, and living in Florida, is there's not a lot of freight that leaves Florida. So it's getting home isn't the problem. Sometimes leaving home, they have troubles finding you a route. We've actually been deadheaded as far as like North Carolina or South Carolina to get our first load. So with that in mind, yes, I do recommend Swift for their CDL training, and it's a good starting spot. There might be better companies after you get 1, especially 2 years of experience, but as far as a starter company, they're fine. So I'm going to cover some other topics in another video or two about my first year. I should say our first year, my wife and I. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And I apologize if you can hear the fan in the background. My wife is sleeping right now, and we sleep with the fan on. So I just thought of that now, thinking, I wonder if the microphone's picking that up. So anyways, stay safe out there. Peace out.